Kill the Child, written by Speedwagon's Glorious Mane. Read by Yours Prinks. Chapter 5. Izuku trespasses on private property and nearly gives his poor mom a heart attack. Summary. As the family gets ready to leave the Todoroki estate behind for good, an uninvited visitor makes Shota want to pull out his hair. Sparks fly of the romantic kind, and Inko nearly has a heart attack when her son brings home a strange man. Shota wasn't blind, nor was he stupid. So when he saw a small figure lurking in the trees on the Todoroki estate as he helped the family pack their possessions into the moving van, he let out an annoyed sigh. Rei, she had insisted that he call her that, immediately stiffened, straightening up from where she was helping pack Fuyumi's backpack into the back of the van to stand by Shota. "Is everything alright?" she asked, barely loud enough for Shota to hear her, and certainly quiet enough not to be heard by the children who were squabbling over who got to sit where in the van. "We have company." Rei sucked in a breath. "Enji?" she breathed. The sidekick standing guard by the van stiffened at her quiet whisper. Shota shook his head. "No, a colleague of mine decided to pay a visit." He sighed again and scrubbed a hand over his face before pulling out his phone. After only 2 rings, the person on the other end picked up. Around the same time, the figure in the trees retreated back into the dark shadows the canopy provided and disappeared from sight. "Why are you here? And how did you get past the perimeter?" "I just wanted to check in on the family." Shota was thrown for a second by the voice. He almost didn't think that it was actually Midoriya on the other end for a second. The voice was far too deep and occasionally crackled with static. He quickly pulled himself together. "Really? And you couldn't have just waited until, I don't know, we were done here?" Nomuri had drifted closer, still holding a moving box, as she very obviously eavesdropped on the conversation. "I don't know where the safe house is, and would you have told me if I asked?" Midoriya whined. Shota gritted his teeth because he had him there. "How did you even get past the perimeter?" He asked again because, what the hell? How the hell did a toddler get past Hisashi? Hisashi was parked in another van just down the road. Most people wouldn't guess from his whole aesthetic, but Hisashi is scary smart and very good with technology. He had to be in order to record and release his own podcast from his bedroom closet through high school, before moving on to managing his own radio show. That is why, as they speak, Hisashi was piloting a drone equipped with a camera to keep an eye on the area, and alerting everyone using their comms of anyone going in and out. This, coupled with the other sidekicks Tensei had sent, keeping an eye on the perimeter, meant that it would have been tough for even Shota to get in undetected. "Have you forgotten my credentials?" Midoriya asked. And, oh, yeah, former underground hero. That makes sense. "I was taught by the best." Midoriya continues, with a teasing lilt to his voice, like he's making a joke. Shota groaned. "Ugh, whatever, just get out of here." "Or what?" Midoriya asked, and there was a challenge there. Fuck. If he'd managed to sneak past everyone like that, Shota had probably only seen him because he wanted to be seen. What exactly was Shota supposed to do? Shota suddenly grinned as an idea occurred to him. It was enough to make Nomuri take a couple steps back away from him. "I will personally make sure you never get your hands on my limited edition shampoo." "No!" Midoriya cried dramatically. "I need it to complete my collection." "Okay, I'm going. Spoil sport." Shota grinned smugly at the bushes where he saw movement, before hanging up. A couple of crows startled, cawing loudly, as they left the trees in a flurry of beating wings. Turning back to Rei, he noticed her watching him with an amused twinkle in her eyes. "Siblings," she said with a smile. "Seems they never change." Over her shoulder, Shota could see Nomuri's shoulders shaking in silent laughter as she placed her box into the back of the van, before turning back to grab another from the house. Shota nearly choked on his spit. What? No, we're not. Ray chuckled and shook her head. You don't need to share blood to be family, you know. She gazed at her kids, who were now squabbling over who's sharing a room with who in the safe house they'll be going to. Her eyes went glassy, and it seemed like she was no longer watching the children, but seeing something else. Shota shook his head. His and Midoriya's relationship was strictly professional. Midoriya provided him with information on how to take down villains, and in exchange, Shota would help him get what he wanted. He needed to do it because if he didn't, well, Midoriya made the consequences of that pretty clear during their first meeting. Hey, Eraserhead! At the sound of that familiar voice, Shota had the sudden urge to flop bonelessly onto the ground, the way he had seen some cats do when their owners tried to take them on walks. Unfortunately, Shota was an adult human and needed to act professionally, so he settled for turning to glare at the thorn in his side. Shota had mostly managed to avoid Miss Joke so far today, but it seemed his luck had run out. He turned to watch as she jogged towards them with a large cardboard box in her arms. She quickly approached the van, setting it down with a quiet thump. Shota watched, impressed as the whole van shifted under the weight of the box. If it weren't for Miss Joke using her quirk on him once, Shota would think she had a strength enhancement quirk. But no, her quirk and general personality just meant that she had phenomenal core strength from laughing all the time. Shota thought back to the days of pain every time he moved after Miss Joke used her quirk on him. He shuddered. What do you want, Miss Joke? Shota crossed his arms and leaned back in order to appear bored. When Miss Joke turned to him, he felt a trail of dread run up his spine. There was a certain sparkle in her eyes that Shota was rather familiar with, one that came with a promise of mischief. You're the one in charge of the investigation, so I was told I need your permission for a little side quest. Miss Joke was smiling, but it wasn't a nice, friendly kind of smile. Shota was intrigued. He raised an eyebrow. What kind of side quest? Miss Joke waved her hands about. Oh, you know, hiding all the light bulbs in the house and moving all the furniture 5 centimeters to the left and stealing off the asshole's Tuesday tidy-whities. Shota thought about it for a while. Does Todoroki even wear his underwear of the week on the right days? Still him, he was curious. They both turned to Ray, who was looking at Miss Joke, her eyes wide and glassy and a flush high in her cheeks. Shota mentally raised his eyebrows. This was the most he'd ever seen Ray really emote in the months he had known her. Yes. Ray blinked, her eyes clearing a little, the dazed look on her face receding a bit. He does. And then she smiled, shy and closed lip at Miss Joke. Miss Joke clapped her hands together. Her returning smile, almost blinding in its intensity, before turning to Shota with puppy dog eyes. Shota turned this new information over in his head. Legally, no. I cannot give you permission to do all of that. Shota watched Miss Joke's face fall and had to resist the urge to let loose his signature sadistic grin. However, I think the legal system would let such things slide if it were the family to say, hide all the light bulbs in the house and move all furniture 5 centimeters to the left and steal Todoroki's Tuesday tidy-whities. He could no longer resist. He bared his teeth in a feral grin. And of course, as heroes, it is our job to help out people in need. Miss Joke let a little whoop before turning to Ray. The two began to talk in hushed whispers, and Shota left them to it. As the two made their way back inside, Nomuri raised her eyebrows at them, before turning to Shota and wiggling her eyebrows. Shota looked back towards the estate, but the two had already disappeared. Yeah, he could see it. While Miss Joke and Ray were hard at work on their little side quest, the kids had also gotten involved in their own way. The kids wanted nothing more than burn the whole estate down and dance over the ashes, but Shota quickly talked them out of that idea. Aggravated arson wouldn't look good in court after all. Still, they wanted to help, so Shota had no choice really, but to give them ideas on how to channel their anger effectively. And that's how all 4 children ended up marching out of the house, arms laden with rolls of toilet paper, while little Shota resolutely clutched 2 rolls of paper towels, one under each arm. When Ray caught sight of her children, she froze for a split second, as she simply processed what they were doing. and then she was letting out peals of laughter that echoed around the clearing in front of the house. She laughed so hard that she needed to put a hand on the side of the van to support herself. The kids all looked on in wonder as they watched their mother laugh, truly laugh, possibly for the first time in their lives. Then they joined in, the younger children releasing high-pitched giggles, while Toya guffawed, nearly dropping the packet of toilet paper he was clutching to his chest for dear life. Namuri and the sidekick guarding the van added their own chuckles and snorts, though Miss Joke was by far the most obnoxious of them all, with her full belly laughs. Shota ducked his head to hide a smile. It took a while, but they all managed to calm themselves, and then they were rushing to finish packing the van, while the 4 children loaded all of the toilet paper from the house into the back of the van. Toya had smirked before showing Shota the little bottle of black nail polish he held. The genius had painted a bunch of thumbtacks black, so they were harder to spot once they had been placed on Todoroki's black leather office chair, point up. Shota sent him his patented Todoroki grin of approval, making Toya flush with pride. The toilet paper had been stolen, thumbtacks left on Endeavor's desk chair, light bulbs hidden in a box, tucked away on a shelf in the laundry room that Endeavor didn't use. The furniture had all been moved 5 centimeters to the left, and 3 pairs of tidy-whities had been put in a plastic bag that hung off of Miss Joke's belt. Shota cringed when he heard her wondering how much authentic used Endeavor underwear would go for on eBay. Shota was proud of the family. He made sure to tell Ray this as he helped her pack the last few things into the van. Just as they finished, he felt his phone vibrate in his pocket. Brat.
Meet me at our usual place.
Who you texting? Miss Joke asked, trying to look over his shoulder. Shota moved so his back was to her. My informant is requesting a meeting, but he can wait. Miss Joke waved him off.
Now go! Don't worry about us. I'll drive them to the safe house. I can take the first guard shift too.
Ray perked up at this from where she was helping the kids get buckled in. Shota resisted the urge to roll his eyes. Fine. Okay. He walked down the road to tell Azashi about the change of plans, and tell him what he was doing, sharing a quick kiss before starting to make his way towards the park. The 2 vans passing him before they split up at the intersection to head to their separate destinations. It didn't take Shota long to get to the park. It took him even less time to spot the kid sitting alone on the park bench, and sit down beside him with a sigh.
So, how'd it go?
Midoriya asked. He was playing with a piece of thread that had come off of the sleeve of his dark hoodie. Upon closer inspection, Shota saw that it was a Gang Orca hoodie, while looking up at Shota. A little you too, Brad. Shota internally snarked, though there was little actual heat in it. It went well. The family should be at the safe house right now, as long as Miss Joke didn't crash. Midoriya turned to him with a smile.
Oh?
Shota narrowed his eyes at him. What? Midoriya wiggled his eyebrows.
Miss Joke staying the night, huh?
Shota couldn't help the grin that spread across his face when he thought back to the way Joke had so readily volunteered her time. Of course Midoriya would know something about this, or at least be able to guess. Now, one of the uninitiated may think that as a stoic pro-hero, Shota would have no interest in gossip. They would, of course, be dead wrong. It was an open secret that underground heroes were some of the worst gossips, second only to the press. Shota let his grin sharpen at the edges. You should have seen the way Ray looked at her when Joke said she wanted to hide all the light bulbs in the house and steal all of the Todoroki's Tuesday tidy-whities. Midoriya cackled like a deranged hyena.
Oh, that would do it.
Shota huffed before narrowing his eyes. Ugh, but you knew something like this was gonna happen when I first told you Miss Joke was gonna be there, didn't you? Midoriya imitated his smile with scary accuracy. Seriously, if it weren't for the fact that he knew better, he might wonder if they were somehow related. And leaned forward, fingers steepled and eyes shining with the promise of good gossip.
I was in a mental hospital with Ray for years, and we got along quite well. We were besties, you see, so I know quite a lot about her. Like how she means Toad on Mario Kart, and how she likes her coffee. But I also happen to learn her type.
A flash of teeth.
Above all, Ray loved someone who could make her laugh. And let's not forget how much Miss Joke loves kids and making people laugh.
He paused, turned to Shota with a thoughtful smile.
Well, I won't be surprised if they end up together. The real question is, who will get you as their best man?
Shota grinned as he tucked that little bit of blackmail material away for later.
On the bright side, I bet they'll both be willing to return the favor on your big day.
Shota inhaled sharply before coughing when he choked on his own spit. His face warmed as blood rushed to his head. Definitely because he was coughing and for no other reason. But when he looked at Midoriya, he was smiling at him smugly. He saw right through him. Shota coughed one last time to clear his throat, before trying to regain some type of control over the conversation. You say that as if you're not going to be the flower boy at my wedding. Now it was Midoriya's turn to suffer.
Flower boy?
He squeaked out. Shota raised an eyebrow. He was enjoying this way too much. Yeah, why not? Midoriya sputtered.
But because my mom!
Shota suddenly sat up. That reminds me. He turned to face Midoriya fully. You're legally a minor, so if I'm going to be opening an investigation into your school, I'll need to talk to your mother about your part in the investigation. Midoriya opened his mouth to argue, but closed it when he saw the expression on Shota's face. Shota could see the fading bruise on the side of his head, and the fresher one on his arm that peeked out from where he had pushed up the sleeves on his hoodie to his elbows. He wouldn't drop this. Finally, Midoriya let out a sigh.
Mom isn't gonna like this, but at least it could give me a semi-legitimate excuse to talk to you so I don't have to sneak around all the time.
Shota didn't think of that. That would definitely make things easier in the long run.
One more thing,
Midoriya said, interrupting Shota's thoughts. Shota raised his eyebrows to show that he was listening. Midoriya sighed.
We're going to be careful about this investigation. We'll probably only be able to actually do anything with these schools after I've left, or when I'm on my way out, to minimize the ripple effect this will have on this timeline. This has never happened before, so I won't be able to track the changes like most other stuff.
Shota didn't like the sound of this. What do you mean by ripple effect?
You've heard of the butterfly effect, right? The idea that a butterfly will flap its wings on one side of the world and cause a hurricane on the other? Well, sometimes things happen and change, and I'm not in the right place at the right time, and people die.
Midoriya's expression shifted to become rigid. He was looking at Shota, but it was obvious he wasn't seeing Shota. Shota swallowed. He knew what Midoriya was feeling all too well. Okay, Shota nodded. We won't do anything about your school until you're gone. At least this will mean we'll have more time to gather evidence. Midoriya sent him a quick smile of thanks. With that sorted, Shota quickly stood up in one smooth motion, while Midoriya was left to awkwardly climb off of the bench. As Shota watched, he couldn't help but wonder once again just how he had snuck onto the Todoroki estate without anyone noticing. Midoriya stumbled as he got to the ground before straightening up.
Okay, follow me then.
And he began to lead the way out of the park. As they passed a group of crows sitting around a rubbish bin, Midoriya stopped to smile and wave at them. One of the crows sitting in the lip of the bin looked up at Midoriya, staring at him for a few seconds with its little beady eyes, before letting out a low caw. Caw! Satisfied, Midoriya continued walking. Shota raised his eyebrows before shaking his head. Weird, but not the weirdest thing Shota had seen the kid do.
Small Fast watched as Dark Tall and his Nice Little left the park when Leader Friend told Small Fast to follow Dark Tall. Leader Friend hadn't told Small Fast that Dark Tall had a nestling, and it was a nestling. It would be a few more years before Nice Little would be a fledgling. Leader Friend will want to know Dark Tall has a nestling, but Small Fast will have to wait. Small Fast has a job to do. Small Fast shook out Small Fast wings and launched Small Fast off of the food bin to follow Dark Tall and Nice Little.
Midoriya Inko loved her son. She loved him, even when he gave her a heart attack by inviting a strange man into their apartment. Inko has never seen this man in her life, but when she sees him, she has to pause as her mind's eye conjures up an image of the same man but older, more tired, and with a jagged scar under his right eye. She shook her head to dispel the image as she let her quirk flow to pool in her hands, ready to attack if this man stepped out of line. Izuku had obediently come to stand behind her as she faced down the man. Izuku, her little boy who she would know anywhere. Izuku, who hasn't been the same since that day months ago, when he came home from kindergarten. He looks the same and acts the same, but his eyes give it away. They have changed. They no longer shine with the innocence of youth, but instead shimmer with an intelligence beyond his years. The man introduced himself calmly, pulling out his hero license without needing to be prompted. She inspected it, even while knowing full well she wouldn't even know where to start to pick a genuine hero license from a forgery. Eraserhead. She's never heard the name, but she knows it. When she looks at the katakana of his hero name, she doesn't see the perfect printed characters, but the same katakana, written in her son's sloppy handwriting at the top of a lined page in a notebook. Under it is a description of the man's quirk and a breakdown of his fighting style. She handed the license back to the man, Eraserhead, who quickly put it away while telling her that they needed to talk. She blinks, and on the back of her eyelids is an image of the man before her staring her down with his single remaining eye, so full of sadness and regret. She blinks again, but the image has faded. When she asked what this was about, her anxiety making her thoughts race through what-ifs. It's not Razor who answered, but Izuku.
The teachers at school are meanie, so I told a hero, because that's what you're supposed to do when people are being mean.
Wrong, this is wrong. Her son is 4. No, that's not quite right. He's 16. No, that's not quite right either. But that's not the point. She knows her son, and Izuku doesn't talk like this. He's so smart and brave, and he hasn't spoken like this since he was a child. What do you mean, sweetie? How are they being mean? She asked. Eraserhead shifted. We should probably sit down to discuss this. Inko nodded, her brows furrowed in worry. She invited Eraserhead to sit at the dinner table while Inko and Izuku sat on the opposite side. The things that Eraserhead told her made her quirk want to lash out at anything in its path, but it's what Izuku says. Her sweet baby. He hasn't been a baby in years, but he will always be her baby. That makes her see red. She will see to it that the people who hurt her baby will face the consequences. If it's the last thing she does. Outtakes. And 3 pairs of tidy whities have been put in a plastic bag that hung off of Bishop. I'm gonna cut that. Oh my god, I need to cut. Why is she taking herself? Oh god. Tags relevant from this chapter and moving forward for the rest of the work. Kayama Nemuri, Midnight. Todoroki Rei, Fukukado Emi, Miss Joke. Fukukado Emi, Miss Joke, / Todoroki Rei. Oh my god? Oh my god? I did not read ahead on this story. Oh my god, that ending? You guys, that ending? Are you serious? First off, oh my god, Rei Joke is amazing. I did not even. We are seeing the start of Rei Joke, which is so interesting. Like it seems like a crack shit, but I think the author is gonna do this in a really great way, and I'm so excited for it. There's like so many things going on in this chapter. We start seeing resolutions, but we also started seeing like so many things like it started to just like to set up. Like the fact that Eraserhead is aware of like how severe the bullying is, and is like, I'm gonna help you, kid. I know you're not a kid. I know you're like decades older than me. I don't care. It's so funny. Like we always see that like Netsu tears apart school districts, but like Eraserhead's just like fraternal fury of like, oh, I'm gonna kill some people just for you, kiddo. But okay, that second to last section definitely reads as like a very Crow thing. I don't know if that's gonna be related to it. Leader friend, like is it relating to Tokuyomi Fumakage? Is it relating to All for One? who is this girl like talking about? It's so interesting. I'm freaking out because what? And then the end part, Inko has she has a level of sentience, she has a level of awareness, and it has to have some level of like relation to her, like because of the way that like quirk theory happens. It's like the merging with quirks. We're really thinking about Inko's like telekinesis of like small objects. So then I guess it could be a thing of like Izuku's like attracting his body to be towards a smaller state of being. So interesting. Oh my god. Thank you so much for listening to this podfic. I will see you when I do. Toodaloo.